Hey, what's happening? Welcome to Mates TV. I am Mates. Thank you very much for joining me on the channel. I've been having to think this week because of how Liverpool's season's been going and because of how everyone's been talking about the Premier League and saying, is this like the worst quality Premier League, etc., etc., etc. I'm in a bit of a deeper thinking. And obviously, we had El Clasico this week as well. And it really crept up on me. And I'm not the kind of person who sets his calendar. Do you set a calendar? No, probably not. Clock, watch, alarms to football matches in other leagues. But El Clasico's one, you can't avoid it normally. And it really crept up on me this time. And I wondered whether that because neither Barca or Real are absolutely at the peak of their powers. Are they? That they're not in that. They're just not as good as they once were. So maybe they're not as big a draw. So maybe it's not as big a talking point. Or maybe it's just drowned out by the noise of coronavirus and Premier League. I don't know. But anyway, 888 Sport over in their YouTube channel did this video about which is the biggest derby in the Premier League.
Biggest derbies in English football, which is it? Someone go.
I should be sitting here talking about the Merseyside derby. I should be sitting here telling you guys that there's 400 metres between the two stadiums. But we know the bidders are irrelevant. I can't sit here and talk about that in good conscience when I know that the man to my left, your club, is the derby. That's the fixture I look for.
Interesting, fairly interesting stuff. I actually think the quality of that channel's actually gone up tremendously in recent weeks. But look, definitely worth going over there, by the way, just to watch Andy Tate go, Little City, Little City. It's belting content. Go over there, leave a comment underneath and tell them what you think the biggest derby in the Premier League is. But I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about the wider things as well, because it got me wondering a couple of things. Yeah, obviously, which is the biggest derby in the Premier League, which is Liverpool's most important game, and also has Liverpool's most important game now superseded El Clasico as the biggest game in domestic European football? So let's kind of work our way through those. In terms of where we're at right now, my big wondering is this: is Man City now our biggest rivalry? Bear in mind, you can kind of analyse that in a number of ways. Do I think there's the level of depth and animosity towards Manchester City that there is towards Manchester United or Everton? No. Not in any way, shape, or form. Our biggest historical rivals, your City rivals, Everton, you have to live with them. You literally have to live with them. You have to walk past them. You have to share office space with them, houses, beds with them, for God's sake. So yeah, there's that. And then the Manchester thing, you're talking about the two biggest clubs in English football, Liverpool and Manchester United. So there's that. There's also the Northwest rivalry, the fact that they talk really weird and we talk boss. And all those kind of things as well. So I think on paper, Liverpool Manchester United should be the biggest derby, and it should be the biggest game in football. But I don't think that at the moment they are. And you look at therefore in terms of current footballing importance, it kind of has to be Liverpool Man City, right? Surely it does, because in terms of the quality of players and where both teams are and their ambitions season on season, there's a case that they're not just the two biggest clubs in the Premier League right now. They might be the two best teams in football right now. Liverpool have certainly won the accolades to kind of back it up. And okay, City haven't done it on a European level yet, and let's hope they never do, because let's face it, that beast will be absolutely unkillable if they ever get a European Cup. But they've certainly been dominating and throwing teams asunder in the Premier League for a number of years now, particularly obviously under Pep Guardiola. So it did get me thinking about this, and I wonder whether will we ever be able to classify Liverpool and Man City as Liverpool's true biggest rivals, and how long would that take? Because right now, no, there's a real weird, bitter rivalry between them. I think a little bit more on the Man City end, if I'm honest, than on the Liverpool end. I mean, singing songs about Liverpool, I think, is a bit weird. I don't mind. We've got songs, Manchester United in our songs, and maybe maybe in like 30 years' time, that'll be fine. That'll be a thing. All of these, we've got songs about Everton and songs about Manchester United and vice versa. But they had to start somewhere. They weren't always there. There's a point at which they were new, and maybe it felt a bit weird to be singing songs about them as rivals. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just speculating on that. So maybe there will come a point in the future that Liverpool-Man City rivalry will be as big as the Manchester one. I mean, look, if it's a geography thing, they're from the same city as Manchester United. If it's a historic success thing, no, it's going to take them a very, 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 very long time to get back up to that kind of scratch again. But what it feels to me like is the Liverpool-Man City rivalry is very like the Liverpool-Chelsea rivalry from the mid-noughties. You know, you come up against head-to-head against teams. You've got managers who we consider to be on a sort of par in terms of ability levels, and particularly when you're having those big clashes in Europe. Obviously, we didn't have that in the Premier League because Liverpool couldn't really quite get up to that level when Chelsea were there. But there was a real bitterness. You know, we've got that fuck off Chelsea FC, you ain't got no history kind of thing, which was there was a great little snapshot in time when it was a feud. That's what it was. It was a feud rather than a long-standing rivalry. City feels a bit like that, but when you look at El Clasico is always going to be a massive game of football, and because of the way the TV rights deal is structured in Spain, they're always going to be the two richest clubs in that country, and it would take a lot to really break that stranglehold. Look, you had Deportivo doing it for a little while, Valencia did it for a little while, Atletico Madrid did it for a little while, but those two clubs are never really going to be far from the top three positions in the Liga ever, which means that league's always therefore going to be big. They're always going to be bankrolled. They're always going to have all the history and the finance and current modern day finance. So that'll always be a massive game. But it got me thinking again, is there a game in the Premier League that comes close to rivaling that? And at the moment, it can only be Liverpool, Manchester City, because yes, Liverpool, Man United, I think is the biggest derby. And not really a derby, but you kind of take my point on that, is the biggest one of those games because of the size of the football clubs and all the depth of ill feeling over a massive space of time. You've got, Liverpool being the best in the 70s and 80s. You've got Man United being the best in the 90s, noughties, and a little bit beyond. And then we're entering a period now where Liverpool are on top of Man United, has slipped under. Let's hope that's another 10 years. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? So I just really dislike them so much that it would take a lot to top that. But at the moment, we don't see, if ever, both of those teams being on top at the same time. And that's the thing about El Clasico. It often decides La Liga. It's very rare that a game of football between Liverpool and Manchester United decides who wins the title. I mean, think about it, even just in the Premier League era, you're talking about what, 08-09 was the only time where Liverpool and United were going for the title side by side. I might be overlooking one earlier on, but the point is Liverpool were betting brightly but shortly ultimately there, whereas they were just in their big dynasty at that point. So it can't be, it should be the Classico of English football, but because success seems to be mutually exclusive for those clubs, so one's up, the other one's down. It's mad that it's that. So therefore, look, if Liverpool are able to put together a spell, let's say Liverpool can be in and around the top two in the Premier League, in and around the semi-finals of the Champions League, etc., for another 5 years, and Man City do the same. There's a chance maybe then that could actually usurp as the biggest derby. It could usurp as the biggest game in club football. And in terms of right here, right now, in terms of the drawing power, in terms of games that matter, Liverpool Man City matters. The game at Anfield earlier this season effectively decided the title. The game at the Etihad the season before. One of the season before, one where Mane gets sent off for kicking Ederson in the face, effectively decided the title at the time. So they are matches of clinical importance, more so than more than a lot of Liverpool Everton games and Liverpool Manchester United games have been. There's that. The only other fixture that can come close, and I kind of glossed over it because in terms of it being the biggest derby, the actual Merseyside derby should be it, because if you've got those two teams up and running at the same time, 1 and 2 in the league, then I think that is the biggest derby in world football, because you've got a bit of the animosity, but you've also got a great history in it as well. Like I say, the red blue thing, inter-family support, that kind of stuff, the proximity to the clubs until they eventually fuck off to Bramley Moor. And the story past of both football clubs as well, even going back to obviously Everton being the original tenants of Anfield, Liverpool being the afterbirth, all that kind of stuff. If Everton could just get it right, that game should be the biggest game in club football, without a doubt. Look at the 80s when Everton were winning leagues and Liverpool were just being pipped. Liverpool winning leagues just being pipped. Coming up against each other in the 86 FA Cup final, in the 89 FA Cup final. I remember them better than others. There's probably times when Everton came out on top, but I don't remember them because we didn't have them on VHS in our house. Because why would you want to learn about crap history when you can learn about good history? But that's the one for me. It's so far down the pecking order right now because Everton have fallen so far for so many years. But the beauty of that, and similar to the Manchester one, It wouldn't take much more than a spark. If Everton can just make themselves a competitive force, they've got the financial backing, they've got a good manager, they've got some good players, they've got some good young players as well. If Carlo Ancelotti can get them up and running again, then all of a sudden, the idea of an English Classico and it being an actual intercity rivalry, I think that sits above Madrid versus Barcelona. And some people will scoff at that because people are mad, rabid fans of the Clasico, the mad, rabid fans of Real and Barca, even if it's not actually their team. But think about it again, a rivalry that exists within a city with all of that past, with so much riding on it as well. The fact that you actually have to live in it the next day. None of this, but Barca and Madrid are miles away. They're in different provinces. They're basically, if they had their own way, they'd be in different fucking countries. Liverpool is there. It's not. The smallest big city in the world. You can't escape it. I remember being at the Liverpool Champions League parade in 2005. Traffic was brought to a standstill on the flyovers. The buses went over, and I remember looking down, and there's a guy in an Everton shirt stuck in traffic, fucking fuming, raging because he's just basically fucked the timings of his day up, and now he has to live in the world where Liverpool are going past celebrating winning a European Cup, and his life is miserable. There'll have been loads of those stories in the summer and stuff. So yeah, for me, the biggest derby right now in the Premier League is Liverpool versus Man City on current day in terms of what it means. Spurs, Arsenal, it means a lot to them, but it doesn't have massive wider connotations. It doesn't decide league titles or European Cups. Liverpool, Manchester United at the moment doesn't decide those things. Liverpool, Everton doesn't decide those things. Liverpool City does. But in terms of historic, it's Liverpool, Manchester, and that's because it's been so long since Everton have been good. If Everton got back on top, that has the potential to be the biggest game in the world. Twice a year, the eyes of world football watching, blood, thunder, songs, chants, just Liverpool being completely inhospitable place to live for one half of the entire city for days in the aftermath. Terrifying, because I really like the world where Liverpool are much better than Everton, but at the same time, wow, like imagine that would be living. That would be living. Maybe be careful what you wish for, but I think every Liverpool fan should want a world where Liverpool are the best team in the world and Everton are the second best team in the world, because that would be glorious. Maybe third. That would be nice too. I could say City can be second. Be fine. Either way. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think is the biggest derby right now in terms of football quality, historically, and your thoughts on the Everton thing? And could any other game in world football come close to being as big as the Clasico? All of that in the comments section. Make sure you head over to 888 Sport YouTube channel. Drop a like on the video. Leave your thoughts on all the things that they discussed, particularly Andy Tate stuff. Say mate sent you. That always helps. If you want more from me, head to patreon.com/mate. We've got some cool behind the scenes stuff and Q&As where I take questions from you guys and answer them, and we have a little bit of a laugh. It's nice. It's nice stuff indeed. Other than that, thank you very much, everyone. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing week in the face of the fact that this week's been crap because Liverpool have been crap. Keep smiling. Love you all. Ta-da.